Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on tonight to watch our palestra. Uh, you're probably watching it on Facebook, on YouTube. In the future, thank you so much for you. They're here too. And so before we start, let's begin with a opening prayer. Let's all take a couple deep breaths to be present in this moment. Feeling our body from head to toes. And being present in this moment. I want to thank God for the opportunity of being here tonight to share a little bit of knowledge that I've been acquiring on this past few weeks, for years. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to learn and be able to share with y'all. Thank you, God, for that ability that all of us have of learning to be better persons, to create a better community for ourselves and others, to be able to change ourselves to a better version, to the version that you can see that we already have inside of us. Now I ask permission to start our presentation of tonight. So be it. Okay, thank you again. So tonight I'm going to talk about the title of it. It's To Be Born, To Die, and To Be Reborn. We have that phrase outside our Spiritist Center, and I always liked it, but I never went to study more. Outside, we know that this quote is from Allan Kardec, and a few months ago I was thinking about it and researching it, and there's actually a debate if Allan Kardec actually said that or not, but I did a little bit of research and I was able to find it. And so, but the complete sentence is to be born, to die, to be reborn, and incessantly progress. That is the law. And I found this quote in the book, The Problem of Life and Destiny by Leon Denis, which was a spiritist that lived at the time of Kardec. And he has several books about it, which I discovered, I know the existence of them, but I haven't read that much. But on this one, I went there and confirmed this in there. And I'm really interested to read about this book. And on the chapter, this quote is from part 2 of the book, The Problem of Destiny. And it's on chapter 16 that talks about successive lives and historical evidences of it. And I read part of it and it's really interesting, but there was a debate if Allan Kardec actually said those words or not, but in there, it's quoted just the way it is. And there's a little bit of variations on the translation from French to English. But it's really interesting. And it got me thinking about it. To be born, to die, to be reborn, and incessantly progress. That is the law. So I broke it down in parts of it. So we have to be born, to die, to be reborn, and progress, and the laws in there. So I started with the beginning, to be born, and I find it interesting because it brings us to this moment, to the moment right now when we read it or we get in contact with it, because we're born already, and that's the beginning of it. But we always have questions like, why was I born? Like, why am I here? Like, who created me? And when we study Spiritism, we see clues and answers on why we're born. And we can only start with the moment that we get conscious about it. So there's not much from the past, like what we were or anything. So I would focus on to be born. And then why we were born, we have that in the Spirit's book. On question 115, part A, we have from the Spirits, answer from the Spirits. The spirits are like children when they are born, unaware and without experience. However, gradually, they acquire the knowledge that they lack by experiencing the different phases of human life. So we are born and we don't have that much of experiences yet. And we're learning. And that's what we do with it. That's why we're here. And we're learning by doing, by studying, by working, and we get to learn more. And that's what I got in there from the Spirit's book. And then on the next question, on the question on Spirit's book 132, we have the Spirits telling us, God imposes incarnation as a tool to reach perfection. For some, it is a means of making amends, while for others, it is a mission. Every spirit must experience the difficulties of physical experience to reach perfection. Incarnation also requires a spirit to contribute to the work of creation. Through these missions, they contribute to the general good while also achieving their own advancements. The action of physical beings is essential to the operation of the universe, but God has wisely designed this action to serve as means of climbing closer to God. Thus, through the law of providence, all things are connected and everything in nature is united. So here we can see that God imposes this incarnation for us to use it as a learning experience to grow and get closer to perfection. And we use this to make amends, and we see a lot on Talk to Spirit is about past lives and getting connected with each other, creating bounds of love with each other. And that's what I see in there with making amends. When we made mistakes, we gotta go fix it some way. And incarnation, it's a means of doing it. So we are born because of that. But there's a lot behind it too, because that way we are part on creating something good. And as part of it, being the physical world and creating this greater place, we also create a greater place for others. And we're all connected together. When I started creating growth for myself, I will also create it to others. And that way we're all connected. So the good that we do, it's never lost. So that's what I saw in the Spirit's book, that there's way more in there, but that's, I invite you all to read it for yourselves too. And I'll be mostly talking about the Spirit's book, by the way. And so that's the part to be born, And so the second part, it's to die. And on the dying part, or the dead part, it's what it got to my mind. I did a talk a little bit about the passage of the process of dying. And what comes to my mind mostly, it's like the process of dying. What happens when I die? Because with the advancement of Spiritism, we know that the life continues. There's still life after we lose this body. So what got to my mind, it's how it is, because we're kind of afraid of death. We are afraid of death. At least I am. But so how is that process? Why do we have to die? And so on question 68 of the Spirit's book, Allan Kardec asks the spirits, what causes the death of organic beings? And they answer, the exhaustion of their organs. And we see that in science today. That's what happens with our body. We exhaust our heart, and because it's an essential part for us to function, we die, but it's only the body that dies. And it's nice that he talks about organic beings in here. So we can have brain problems, different kind of situations that we could die. But death, that's what it is. What causes death? It's the body not being able to function, the physical body. And on question 154, Allan Kardec asks the spirit, is the separation of the soul from the body painful? The spirit's answer, no. The body often suffers more during life than at death because the soul is usually unaware of what is occurring to the body at death. And that's for me, it's really a hopeful moment in here, because if we suffer more incarnated than actually dying, it makes it easier. It makes us lose the fear a little bit of it. And I did a talk about that, about the passage, and there, we discuss more of ways to make it easier, and how we can construct it today to get to that point. But I know it's not an easy task as well. And on question 155, we have the question, how does the separation of the soul from the body take place? And the spirit's answer, as the bonds restraining the soul are broken, it's separated from the body. It separates from the body. So we have bonds between our soul and our body. And when our organic body starts to dying, getting exhausted and failing, those connections are breaking. In this part of the Spirit's book, you can also hear about people that when they die unexpectedly, like an accident, and you can also see more of that in heaven and hell. So that's my little part on this part of the quote, to die. Another part on to be reborn. Since we're getting born again, we go back to that first part, to be born. And we learned that we're children and unexperienced. We're still learning. And the reincarnation, it's a tool to reach perfection. So what we discover in there also makes part of this part to be reborn. But now we technically are more conscious about it. And on the Spirit's book, question 166, we have the question, how can a soul that has not reached perfection during corporeal life achieve purification? And as any of you can guess, it's by experiencing the trials of a new existence. So we learned that before. I think it was question 155, that we use the incarnation to achieve perfection. So we experience again, we experience new things or redo something, try to make better choices. So we come back here and do it again. We start it all over. And also on question 171, all spirits strive for perfection, and God provides them this opportunity through the trials of corporeal life. Divine justice compels them to use their new existence to do what they were not able to do or complete it in a prior trial. So we go back to using a tool to perfection ourselves. So we strive to perfect ourselves. We go through new trials or the same trials and make better choices, and we use that to learn. And that's part of the divine laws, the divine justice, to keep going. And we go back to we're going through the first three parts of it, to be born, to die, to be reborn, and incessantly progress. We saw that. And then it comes to the next part, that is the law. So what are those laws? And I've been studying Spiritism hard for about 3 years now, and I'm still learning about those laws. It's a little complex to say that, and as we reading the Spirit's book, we know that we're not going to be able to understand God, but we can understand how some of the rules are, what we can do. And we see constantly it's being good, doing good for others. And we learn that. And in the Spirit's book, we have the third part of the book. It's about the moral laws. So we have clues in there where we can study. I invite you all, and actually it's one of my intentions to, so as we can see that we use incarnation to come back and work on ourselves and others, So to know those laws, I invite you all to study the third part of the Spirit's book. And the questions that I have for myself when I get to this point is, what am I learning during this life? How can I progress? And that's what I do. That's what I keep thinking about it. And in here, we saw a lot of it. It's trying to. I've said that several times too. We're trying to do good, and that's the only way that I see that. But I have the hope that if I make a mistake now, because I'm still not perfect, I can go back and work on it more to get closer to perfection. And actually I have you guys can see it online on book 3, the breakdown of the moral laws or divine laws that the spirituality gives to us through Allan Kardec in the Spirit's book. And also, if you want to know more, I recommend reading the book Heaven and Hell, which explains a lot about the myth of hell and heaven. And the second part of the book on the first chapter, which is where I based the other palestra, the passage, is about this process of dying. Like, how do we get there? What happens? There's several things that could happen when we die. But we know here today that it's not painful now that we are more aware of it. And hopefully, when that time comes, because my body's going to get to exhaustion one day, I am more aware of the situation and I don't let myself go down on fear. And also, you can read the collection from André Luiz, Life in the Spiritual World, on Missionaries of the Light. We have a chapter that is really interesting. It's the reincarnation of Segismundo. In there, with the whole chapter, it's about this person, Segismundo, that it's reincarnating. So the process, it's really detailed in there. Me as a chemist and liking to study biological science, it's really interesting to see how that works, how the spirit reconnects to a body and it's able to create it. So it's really interesting to know more about it. And I strongly recommend the whole collection, but reading André Luiz and Allan Kardec, it's already a lot of work, but we all can do it. And I just hope, I know it's a short presentation on Wednesdays, and I really want to thank you all for being here and for listening to this. And thank you all for helping me progress by learning this and be able to grow myself. Thank you so much. And now we have the reminders before we get to our final prayer of tonight. Those are actually short reminders. We still have our meditations, the guided meditations through Zoom. You can search on our Facebook page. We always post the link for the meetings. Those meetings are Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Usually Evelyn, I don't think she's doing much now, but Cynthia and Juan have the meditations for us there on that day. And right after the meditation, also on Tuesdays, in English, we have In the Realms of Mediumship, the study group at 8 p.m. It's really, really interesting. We're learning about mediumship in there. But you also have, you're here tonight online, But you know that we have also talks on Mondays and Saturdays. Those are in English. But I know we're working on having them translated. They always post the link on the Facebook page for the simultaneous translation to English of those talks. And that was it for tonight. So now I invite you all for our closing in prayer. I want to continue feeling thankful for the opportunities that we have, for being able to learn more and more about ourselves, about the place that we live, and about our mission of doing good for others and ourselves, on creating heaven on this planet. Thank you, God, for the opportunity, for the ability of learn. And I ask blessings for ourselves in this moment, so we can have a strength inside of us to continue working on this mission of doing good. I ask for blessings for those that are still unaware of our existence, so that we can all unite hands to create a better world for ourselves and others, and making the life of all good. Thank you for all the opportunities of growth and learning in this planet. And with that, I ask permission to finish our study of tonight. So be it. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with me tonight, and I'll see you soon.